As usual, I start these questions by skimming the answer choices and noticing any sort of categorizations I can make there. So regardless is basically a version of the word but so is on the contrary. So not looking good for either of those choices. They're in the same category. Why would we need one contrast word but not the other? Doesn't really work that way, so that's not looking good. Consequently is basically a version of so, and for example just kind of means what it means. So we know that one as well. So let's take a look. Let's see what the sentence is. It's probably going to be an example or a cause and effect situation, but let's take a look. Before the 1847 introduction of the U.S. postage stamp, the cost of postage was usually paid by the recipient of a letter rather than the sender, and recipients were not always able or willing to pay promptly. Collecting this fee could be slow and arduous, and heaps of unpaid-for, undeliverable mail piled up in post offices. Now, this kind of confirms what I thought originally. It doesn't seem like a but, right? So the recipient is not always willing to pay. I'm about to say the answer. So collecting the fee would be slow and lots of mail would pile up, right? Like, it's not a contrast for sure. These are logical things that follow from each other. People who don't have money or can't pay are going to just not accept the letter, I guess. And then where does it go? It goes in a big pile somewhere. And this is the benefit of these kind of dumb summaries of these choices, right? And categorizing them is we can kind of hear that that's right. Again, let me just simplify the sentences. The recipient had to pay and they were not always willing to, so it was hard to collect the fee. Fits. Now, it's not an example because they're not providing an example of a person refusing to pay the fee. That would be an example, as if we took that big idea and then narrowed it to like, this one time they tried to deliver a message to, Bill Jones and it didn't work because he didn't want to pay. Like, that's not what we're getting here. We're just getting a continuation, a logical kind of result of this situation of the recipient paying for the letter. So I do think dumb summaries help here. It kind of helps me to understand the flow of the sentence by not only kind of shortening the sentence and condensing the ideas, but also shortening the answer choices, right? I personally wouldn't use consequently here. It's such a weird, unusual word that I don't have in my everyday vocabulary. I know what it means, but it's just not going to come naturally out of your mouth. So pick the word that would. Pick a word like so, and your brain has a much more natural ear to hear whether or not words like that fit and whether the logical connection with that kind of word is logical, because you use that logic every day. You use those words. So very important that we are able to categorize the answer choices into those four main transition categories so that we can start to make more sense of them more quickly, because the sentences are going to be complicated. So let's simplify everything, and then we'll hear the answer much better.